Right, I think we can go ahead and just kick it off and get started. First, want to start off by welcoming everybody and saying good morning and thanks for joining us today. We're going to be talking about how to maximize sales during this Black Friday and Cyber Monday season, including revealing a few top 2025 strategies to help get you started. As we get started, first, I'm excited to introduce our panelists today. Myself, I'm Erin Fisher. I'm the Director of Marketing here at G-Commerce. And then joining me today, we have Jaylene Van Lin, who is our Senior Marketing Strategist. And then two of our other leading strategists on the marketing team are going to be Maddie Hollifield and Meg Reynolds. Going over a quick agenda of what we're going to be talking about today. We're going to start with a retrospective on 2024 findings and, some of our insights there, some of our shortcomings, and then we're going to pivot into some data-driven strategies that we can utilize in the 2025 season. From there, we're going to be getting into a couple of bonus tactics designed from the experts at G-Commerce before diving into how to utilize an omnichannel approach and why that's extremely important during sales seasons like this. And then rounding out the presentation, we're actually going to get into a sample timeline of what your cyber sale could look like this year. But to kick it off, I think the big question on everyone's mind so far is, why should you start planning so far ahead for cyber season? It's not even September yet. It's August. It's summertime. Why are we thinking about holiday sales? But the truth of the matter is that Black Friday and Cyber Monday are, one of the most, if not the most competitive marketing seasons in the entire year. During this time, nearly every brand, every hotel, anybody who has a product to offer, they're going to be showcasing some kind of deal, discount, offer, even if it's not monetary, they're going to be showing up in this marketplace. And because it's so saturated, you really can't afford to not be marketing during this season. Even if you don't want to do a big sale, it's still important that your brand is showing up and representing, because you want to make sure you're still getting in front of your potential audience and guests. So what does this all mean? It also means that your costs are going to be a lot higher than normal. CPMs and CPCs, they're just going to be, at some of the highest points of the entire year. And so because of that, it's really important that hoteliers make sure their marketing strategies are tight and locked in so that you can achieve the highest value possible. You really don't want to be wasting your marketing budget and sending marketing dollars to users that aren't going to be converting. This is not the time to take a loosey-goosey approach and just kind of shooting into the dark, hoping you hit the right audience. You really want to make sure we're being strategically geared, and that is exactly where G-Commerce comes in to help. So from there, we're going to dive into our 2024 retrospective with Maddie.
Thank you, Erin. Okay, so shortly after cyber season last year, we gathered all of our cyber data from each platform, and we started looking for trends and insights, just things that would help guide future cyber season strategies and tests. So to start, we felt that sale length was an important factor to consider. Especially considering that Facebook's algorithm is so powerful, we wanted to analyze how to best capitalize on that. So we reviewed the data to see what performed best in terms of length of campaign. On the Facebook side, we found that around 15 days was the magic number for the highest amount of revenue. This was also true for achieving the lowest CPMs. And we also noted that extending up to 5 days after Cyber Monday proved to be successful for a lot of clients. On display, we found something similar. Campaigns that lasted roughly 17 days performed the best in terms of lowest CPMs and highest revenue. And we also found that the highest click-through rates came from campaigns that lasted at least 10 days. As mentioned above, the longer the sale, the lower the CPMs. Our platforms, especially Facebook, work best when given the opportunity to do what they do best, which is optimize. So, if given a longer sale duration, the platform can best optimize and bring in the most valuable clicks. So, obviously, creative is an important factor as well. We wanted to take a look at what ran last year and what was the most successful. And here is what we found. On Facebook, the static ad, which features one still image, main copy, and a headline, resulted in the highest revenue. From the data that we looked at specifically on Facebook, it was clear that simplicity wins. As the platform changes and the algorithm evolves, more testing is required. But from the data we pulled, utilizing the simplicity of a static format seems to yield great results for our clients. On the display side, the top performing creatives featured lifestyle imagery, things like skiers, families, events, things like that. They also featured a clear offer, with most of our top performers including a percent based offer, something like 35% off stays. And the last thing we noted they featured was a strong call to action. The call to action was easily visible and it gave the user very clear next steps. We noted that some of our top performers included slight movement in their creatives, i.e., including subtle movement in the background, the call to action moving slightly, or the copy moving as a way to attract extra attention. Email can be a very strong tool when leveraged correctly, so we wanted to take a look at what worked best. And looking at email performance, we saw that early access emails resulted in the highest average click rate and most purchases and revenue. These email types gave subscribers a first chance to book the sale before it was open to the public, offering some form of exclusivity. We also found that last chance emails, which prompted users to book before the sale ended, generated the highest average open rate. And pivoting over to subject lines, we found that mixing lowercase and all caps were included in our top performers. Interestingly enough, the subject lines that did not feature a specific offer generated more purchases. And you can see some of our higher performer subject lines are featured on this slide. And then moving over to our offer types and messaging. So, offer types and messaging used was a crucial factor we really wanted to take a better look at. On Facebook, the highest click through rate came from offers at 30 to 40% off, or they included a mixture of a percent off and credits, such as food and beverage or resort credits. We also found high click through rates came from rates as low as offers combined with a valuable or enticing offer. So, an example would be rates as low as 119. The highest revenue performers also followed these offer types. On display, we noted a similar trend. So, offers at 30 to 40% off and BOGO or length of stay deals, such as buy 2 nights, get the third night free. Those offers saw higher revenue generation within our display clients. And looking over at email, we found that the highest click rates came from emails that offered 25 to 35% off.
Awesome. Thanks so much, Maddie. So now, given some of the insights that we've received from the past year, we really came together and produced a handful of data-driven strategies that we would suggest all of our clients incorporate this cyber season. So to kick it off, the first strategy is going to be how to capture additional revenue by extending your sale periods. So you can see from what Maddie was just barely discussing from our findings in 2024 and also in 2023, we've been gathering this data for a couple years now at G-Commerce. We found that campaigns with sale periods from 7 days to 15 days is going to be where you can produce the most revenue. That is the sweet spot. All of our clients that had campaigns within this range tended to have higher return on ad spend, lower CPMs, and produced more revenue overall. So, why is that? So sales lasting less than 7 days had really high CPMs and costs because we weren't giving our systems enough time to learn and optimize. All of our marketing platforms have really strong algorithms, and they take a data-driven approach when it comes to serving ads to the right user at the right time. However, they're not perfect. They don't start off all knowing and smart. They have to go through a learning period and use a lot of trial and error to figure out who your right user is. And that can take a few days to a couple weeks even to fully optimize. And so we find, especially on social and display, campaigns that are less than a week long are not giving the algorithm enough time to find their correct user. And so, in essence, if you're just running a week-long campaign, you're probably wasting a lot of marketing dollars because you're just hitting the wrong audience. And because of this, your CPMs are also going to be a lot higher because the system is working harder. And so that's one of the reasons why we recommend a longer sale period, because you're really going to be more efficient with your budgets. Um, CPMs are also at their peak on Black Friday and Cyber Monday, specifically the days in that whole weekend, which makes sense. That's when the actual sale period is. So if you're only running your sale during that one weekend, which we see a lot of marketers do, you're also going to be wasting budget because you're running your campaigns when costs are at their absolute highest. And based on our data, we're seeing that the biggest chunks of revenue are actually coming from the week prior to those sale days and even the week after. So really, it's important that you're being present and you're showing up for this weekend. We don't want you to turn your campaigns off just because costs are high, because then you'd have to re-optimize and start all over. But you still want to be present and in front of your audience, even if most of your revenue might come before and after Black Friday and Cyber Monday. And so that is why we are kind of giving a sweet spot of 7 to 15 days. So what does this look like? We recommend starting your sale at least a week prior to Thanksgiving. Most of your competition may or may not be doing this, but that way you're giving your campaigns enough time to learn so that when we do hit those peak periods, we are set up for success. And that same principle is going to apply when it comes to extending your sale. You're giving your audience some additional time to make a decision. I don't know if you're like me, but sometimes when I get hit with offers, I need to sit on it and I need to think about it for a little bit longer. And so if I get an extension of a couple extra days to make that decision and book, I'm probably more likely to do so. And so we definitely do capture a lot of additional revenue through, last chance type messaging. Our next strategy is going to be utilize simple offers. Maddie stated that in our data from last year, simplicity wins. And while complex offers can be great in the appropriate spaces where you really have the ability to elongate your content and dive into the details, on your website within email marketing or other long forms of marketing content, they don't really have a profitable place within limited time sales such as cyber season. Why is this? It's because your consumer is being flooded with offers during cyber season, and they're all probably going to be somewhat similar if they're getting offers from your comp set as well. So if your offer does not stand out, it's not eye-catching, it's not easy to comprehend, they're going to get confused. It's going to be too much for them. They're just going to go to someone else who has maybe a similar offer, but it's easier to understand. It's easier to book and comprehend. So definitely keep it simple. A basic percent off is going to be your best plan of action. We don't really see a lot of success with like the tiered approach offers, such as, save 10% on 2 days or 15% on 3 days or 20% on 4 days. Approaches like that can be a little bit confusing for the client, and especially when we're just trying to be quick with our ads, we don't have the long form content ability to really expand upon that. If you do use that approach, we just recommend keeping it simple and saying receive up to 25% off and keeping those details on your website, because that's the goal of these ads, right? Is to get somebody to go to your website to then book and get more information. We also see free nights or the length of stay offers are going to be a really big draw because who doesn't like free stuff? So if you're advertising, book 3 nights, but we're going to give you your fourth for free or complimentary, that's a really great way to also increase that average length of stay and drive up your average order values. And speaking of free things, we also see really great success with food offers, especially if there's like some kind of free benefit to the food. Everybody loves free food. So, complimentary breakfast is a really great draw on top of your percent off. So that would be something else that you could consider adding into your simplistic offer. Our next strategy is to leverage first-party data as a way to help combat those really high CPMs during this time period. So when media costs are high, it's important that you're not, again, wasting marketing budget on the wrong user. And first-party data is a really easy and effective way to reach the right user at the right time. Because you've gained this data either from a past guest, it's coming from your CRM, or maybe somebody signed up on your website to receive offers, we know that they're actually interested in your product. So those are going to be the users that we're going to want to hit because they're going to be more worthwhile. You can also use first-party data within your marketing campaigns to create lookalike lists for prospecting down the road, which is awesome. If you're not sure, where do I find my first party data? We're going to be saying, look to your past guests lists, your email databases. Did you run any events on property where users were opting into marketing messaging? There's a lot of different outlets where we can kind of help direct you in terms of getting this first party data. If you need help generating additional first-party data, which I think everybody does during cyber season, we always recommend running a teaser campaign a few weeks before on, your social platforms and use a lead generation objective. So tease your sale, cyber sales coming up. Why don't you sign up to stay up to date on when that offer goes live? Maybe we'll give you exclusive access before it's live to the public. And then, from a lead generation form on social, somebody can give you their info. You can load that into your CRM, and then we can down the line get them into early access messaging and then send them that offer. And then you can also use it just in your general email marketing as well. Our next strategy is capitalizing on early access opportunities. This one is really important because we see the largest amount of revenue typically coming from early access messaging. This is a really great way to reward your past guests and create exclusivity with your current customers, and as well as audiences who may have opted in to receive this messaging. Your messaging could really focus on exclusivity, getting the top inventory before it's gone, potentially offering this audience a steeper discount. So if your cyber sale offer is 30% off, maybe your early access past guest users could get 35% off if they book, before the sale goes live to the public, something like that. You could even offer an additional amenity. That's always a really big draw. So maybe early check-in, late checkout, a free drink on arrival, a dining credit, something as simple as that, just to kind of make your current audience feel really special that they're getting early access opportunities. And if you're using social audiences, you can also send them Facebook and Instagram ads as well. You can get a customer match list from your CRM and upload it into Facebook and then just hit targeting messaging so that they're kind of getting an alignment between their early access email. They're also getting that reminder on social as well. Our next strategy is experimenting with pop-up promos. You are all probably familiar with a pop-up on your website. You've probably also heard of something like a pop-up store or a pop-up restaurant, but have you ever heard of a pop-up promotion? It's a little bit of a mouthful there. Probably not. It's kind of a more unique approach that we would really love to see a lot of our clients take this season. So a pop-up promotion is choosing a small time frame within your existing sale. So maybe like a 24-hour period, and for that day only, offering a much steeper discount and changing your messaging to align with that. Saying for 24 hours only, get an extra 10% off when you book today, maybe offer a different promo code so you can track this. And not only is this going to be more unique and it's eye-catching, it stands out, but it can help create urgency to your audience that if they want this incredible offer, they literally need to book it right now or it's going to go away. So you can kind of help drive up demand a little bit there. This could be really great maybe during like a lull period or a time when you might need to drum up some additional revenue. But mostly it's just something different that your competitors probably aren't going to be doing. So it could be a really fun approach just to mix things up this cyber season. Next, it's important, don't forget about SEO. I think oftentimes SEO can fall to the back burner when it comes to sale periods like this. We're more focused on the ads and just getting them out. But SEO is going to be an integral part of your cyber sale strategy. In fact, it should be one of the very first things you do. And that means creating your dedicated landing page for your sale that's SEO optimized, both for visibility on traditional search and AI answer engines. We're going to get more into this later in the presentation, but it's definitely going to be a very important strategy to focus on getting your landing page live first, because it can take, anywhere from like 3 weeks to 3 months to fully ramp up. So you do want to make sure you're giving yourself time for success there. And then lastly, it's going to be important that you are aligning your messaging with an omnichannel approach. It's not going to be enough to just run some Facebook ads and hope for the best. You really need to be strategic and make sure all of your channels are aligning, because you want to be hitting your audience, your guest, wherever they are in the purchasing journey. If they're in the research phase, if they're in the consideration phase, shopping phase, or maybe they're just ready to hit book and give you their revenue, you want to make sure you're hitting them, wherever they currently are. And each channel is going to be integral for reaching them at that point. Only focusing on one or two marketing channels is really going to reduce your visibility and potential for revenue. So we're going to spend more time later in the presentation diving into what that omnichannel approach could look like and what each channel would be best served for. But first, we're going to dive into a few bonus tactics from the experts that you can utilize.
Thanks, Erin. So the first tip I want to mention is to trust the algorithms. One of the biggest mistakes we see is over-controlling campaigns. So platforms actually know your audience better than you do most of the time. So you want to give the algorithms enough room to work. You want to avoid over-segmenting, but instead make sure that you're providing the platforms with strong creatives and clear goals. Specifically, we recommend tools like Performance Max on Google or flexible ad formats on Meta. These can just scale a little bit faster and find high value guests more efficiently than some of the manual targeting. However, we can't forget to engage and get creative with our campaigns. So yes, automation is going to help us with that targeting, but creativity is what's going to actually make these ads stand out. One example that we would suggest testing out is user-generated content, which tends to feel a little more authentic than some other polished ads. But it's also important that you're just replying to comments, asking quick questions or polls. Anything that's going to build trust through interaction with your audience is really important during this time. Lastly, in regards to getting creative, now is the time to go bold. So use the playful language, the overlays, that light animation you've been wanting to break out. Anything you can do to stop the audience from scrolling past your ad, now is the time to go for it. Next, touching on how to leverage AI in search, something interesting we found is that Black Friday searches actually happen all year long. It's not just in November. Specifically, we have found that Black Friday sales is searched more often than Cyber Monday. But overall, what this means is you can plan ahead and capture so much more traffic, even in December and January with extended campaigns. You also want to be mindful about how people are searching with AI assistance now. So you want to optimize the page for more like natural language questions because people are now going to be searching more like, what are the best Black Friday hotel deals near me? But overall, really, the earlier you plan keywords and campaigns, the more visibility you're going to have before the competition is even going to ramp up. Moving on to our landing page strategy, which Erin briefly mentioned, the landing page really is going to be the foundation of your cyber sale, right? So it needs to do a little bit more than just showing the discount. So it's important that even if you do like a go live with simple coming soon messaging, even if you don't have, your specific offer nailed down, this is still going to give Google time to index your page. And it's also going to build a little anticipation. So it's a win-win. We also recommend keeping the same URL year after year. This is just to build SEO authority, and it's just going to make your sale easier to find every single year. And lastly, don't forget to make the page engaging before the sale starts. So adding any, property highlights, this is a good place to add photos or any other value added details that people can look at. All right. Continuing on with the landing page strategy, just a little more in depth. Once your page is live, you really want to share that URL everywhere. So you want to send that on your social, partner sites, press releases, basically anywhere you can put it, put it. The more links, the stronger it's going to rank. Also on the landing page, we recommend using schema and structured data. This essentially is going to help the search engines and AI clearly understand your offer, which will make it easier to find. And also by doing that, you're going to even make your sale eligible for some rich snippets, which is giving you visibility right in those search results. But really the bottom line here is the more places the URL is going to appear, the better it's going to perform heading into November.
Great. Thanks, Jaylene. And now we're going to pivot into how to use an omnichannel approach.
Awesome. So as we move into these peak sale periods, every marketing dollar counts. The channels you choose and the timing of when you activate them can make a difference between a campaign that blends into the noise and one that totally stands out. As Erin had mentioned earlier, every marketing channel does have its own ramp up time. So, for example, SEO might take 3 months or more to gain traction, whereas paid search can produce results almost instantly, and social media typically sits somewhere in between. If these channels are not coordinated, we do risk losing momentum where one channel might be ready and another is still catching up. The goal is to have all of our efforts, search, social, email, and display go live with the same story at the same time, so each one reinforces the other. On the search side, seasonal campaigns shine when we use extensions like site links and promos. This adds more clickable real estate and puts the sale message right in the search results. For display ads, we're building visibility before the sale starts and keeping our brand top of mind during the sale. Display is especially effective for retargeting because it shows ads to people who have visited the landing page but didn't purchase yet and might need that small push to take the next step. Both channels do work better with a dedicated landing page, so the ad click goes directly to the sale and not to a generic homepage. Whether someone finds us through a search ad, a display banner, or a social post, they should all land on the same dedicated page that's laser focused to the offer. This keeps the message consistent, makes it easier for them to buy, and supports our ad tactics, especially for paid search, where certain extensions require unique URLs. Dedicated pages almost always convert better because there are no distractions, and they're also the anchor for our SEO efforts if those are launched early enough. And moving into email. Email is one of our highest ROI channels we have, especially for seasonal campaigns, because we can use it to hit different audience segments at exactly the right moments. For example, we could start by sending an early access email release to our most loyal customers, giving them a reason to shop before the general public, is sort of a way of exclusivity. And then moving on, the launch day we'll send out a bold visual email that announces the sale with a clear call to action, driving button or a clear call to action button driving to the landing page. And then midway through the sale, a reminder send can keep momentum going, especially if paired with fresh creative or an added incentive. And then finally, in the last 24 hours, urgency focused subject lines like ends tonight or last chance and countdown timers can drive a surge in last minute purchases. Making sure to segment these based on engagement or past purchase history can make messaging feel more personal and can increase conversion rates. And then finally, moving into social ads. These are our most flexible channel that we work with. So we can start with teaser ads 2 or 3 weeks before launch to spark curiosity. For example, revealing sneak peeks of the deal, but not giving away all of the offer details just yet. This also helps us to collect valuable audience data that we can retarget to later on. And then when the sale goes live, we're able to shift to direct offers. And then with those can use strong creatives that are optimized for conversions. And then similar to email in the final days, urgency-driven creatives like end tonight or last chance can push people to act quickly. Social ads also integrate seamlessly with other channels, driving traffic for retargeting on display and boosting brand searches.
Thanks, Meg. So to really wrap up the presentation, we've created a timeline example of what your sale could look like this year. And so your sale does not need to follow this exact timeline. In fact, this is going to be sent out to everybody via email after today's webinar. So you're welcome to print this out, put it on your desktop, send it to your marketing managers. But we're really hoping that this is a great resource to showcase, how to develop your cyber season strategy in terms of timeline. So this year, Thanksgiving falls on November 27th, so right at the end of the month. So based on that timeline, we're suggesting that the week of November 10th, you really start launching teaser ads just to kind of get the word out there, get your audience excited. They're going to be clicking on your website, which is going to put them on your retargeting list to receive ads down the line for cyber sales. So it's great for boosting traffic. You could also run those lead generation campaigns to help build up your first party data during this time. Then around November 17th, we're recommending that's when your sale goes live to early access users. So that would be through email or maybe specifically targeted social campaigns with your customer match audiences. And then around November 20th is when we would recommend your sale could go public, open to everybody. Maybe the details could change a little bit, but it's go time around November 20th. You really want to be optimizing at this point. And then around December 2nd, we're done with Black Friday. Cyber Monday has passed. Extend your sale. You don't necessarily have to say messaging like sales extended. Maybe you always plan to have your sale end on December 5th. Maybe you wanted to play it off that it ends on December 2nd, and then you can change your messaging to say, just kidding, we have a few more days. That's really going to be up to you and your marketing teams. I think either option could work based on your goals. But that's where we want to see extensions happening. December 4th, last chance messaging. We do want to see those last chance emails going out, last chance messaging in your social, maybe even in your site link extensions, and then probably having your sale end around December 5th. So this is a great example of what some of our more successful campaigns with our clients in past years have looked like. And again, this will be emailed out to everybody so that you will have it as a resource. But other than that, that's really all we have today. So we're ready to open it up for questions. Alrighty. Okay, so our first question, for independent hotels with smaller teams, which channels should be prioritized first in an omnichannel strategy? So this is a really great question. I'm sure it's on a lot of people's minds. So when your time and capacity are limited, you definitely do want to take a tiered approach. First and foremost, we recommend starting with that SEO strategy. getting your dedicated landing page set, because as we said earlier, that can take, weeks up to a few months to fully ramp up and optimize. So that should definitely be prioritized. And then in terms of which channels to really focus on, we'd really recommend honing in on email marketing and Facebook and Instagram ads. That's probably where you're going to see a lot of great success, especially when you're limited with capacity. Email is going to capture a much larger chunk of revenue, but the social ads, we really can't discount those because they're going to be super important in brand visibility. And they're also really cost effective because you don't need as large of a budget to run on those. Let's see. Our next question is, how far in advance should I begin prepping creative and landing pages for the best SEO benefits? So I know we've touched on this a few times, but I definitely think it's important that we're hitting home with this one. So again, start early as possible. In fact, if you haven't started prepping for cyber season, let this be your catalyst to start strategizing. So how far in advance? Start now. Start a few months ago. The earlier, the better, especially when it comes to getting visibility for those landing pages. See, our next one is for 5-star hotels. Any other strategy besides giving discounts? What options have been successful? This is another really great question. And I think, you don't necessarily need to give a discount if you're a luxury brand. I know for a lot of our clients, that's not necessarily who they are. It's not, fitting with their branding. And so I think if you could offer other benefits and values, that's really going to play in the long run. So I know I touched early on maybe thinking towards amenities. So maybe something with spa or dining, or, something upon arrival. Maybe you have access to, local dining outlets or museums that you could partner with. Maybe you have exclusive access to other things within your city that you could offer to these guests as well. Maybe it's booking something early or getting priority access to a spa booking or a dining reservation. Or maybe it's checkout related, or free valet, or something with your concierge. I think there's a lot of different ways you could add value to somebody booking at a luxury 5-star resort. That's not just here's 25% off, if that makes sense. Let's see. And then our next one, for hotels with limited budgets, which cyber sale strategy would you say tends to deliver the best return on investment? It's a good one. Within the strategies that we've discussed today, I think we definitely recommend utilizing more than one of them if you're able to, because, they all can offer benefits at different levels. And I think they all really play into each other when it comes to driving success with your cyber campaigns. But, I guess if I had to pinpoint and choose, if you can elongate your sale, use a simple offer, and capitalize on early access messaging, I think you're definitely going to be able to maximize your return on investment there. Let's see. Another one, we have hello from Mayan Riviera. That sounds very dreamy. I'm jealous of that. This is Andreas from the 5 Hotels and Residences. My question is, in your experience, do you think during this Black Friday, Cyber Monday season, it is correct to pause all other promos that can distract from potential customer local promos and focus all efforts to this huge campaign? This is a really great call out, Andreas. I appreciate you sending this over. And that is absolutely correct. We do recommend that you pause all other marketing during your cyber sale. At G-Commerce, we call this a full takeover. So we want all of our attention, all of our marketing dollars going towards this offer to set you up for success. So yes, definitely pause all your other marketing efforts. Of course, this could be contingent if you're trying to gather, group business or anything like that. You could definitely keep those live, maybe at a smaller scale if they don't necessarily have anything to do with cyber season or hotel bookings. But in general, we do want to put all of our efforts towards the cyber sale messaging. So thank you for that. And I believe that was our last question, unless any others are going to come through at this time. Give everyone a few seconds. Okay. Well, I think that is it. Yeah, that is all we have for you today. So I really appreciate everyone jumping on. Definitely reach out to us at GCommerce if you have any additional questions, thoughts. We're here to help plan your cyber strategy. And otherwise, have a really great rest of your Tuesday. Thanks so much.